Breaking news on day 4 of deliberations in the trial of Marine veteran Daniel Penny. We are now hearing the jury cannot agree on whether to convict him on the most serious charge of second-degree manslaughter.
Penny is on trial for that deadly subway chokehold last year. The jury has been deliberating for 4 days. Doug Williams joins us live outside the courthouse with the very latest. Doug.
Jessica and Cindy, here is the very latest. According to our Alice Gaynor inside the courtroom, just before 11, the jury brought a note to the judge that read in part, "We, the jury, request instructions as we are unable to come to a unanimous vote on count 1. That is the charge of manslaughter in the second degree. It's the more serious charge of the two that Daniel Penny is facing and can mean up to 15 years in prison if convicted. As the judge instructed them at the beginning of deliberations, they must agree on that charge before they can even consider the second charge of criminally negligent homicide. The jury's been told all along that if they were to find Penny guilty of second-degree manslaughter, they would not have to issue a decision on the lesser count. So according to Alice just moments ago, this was all just discussed inside the courtroom between both sides of attorneys and the judge. The defense was asking the judge for a mistrial. The judge, it seems, has just instructed the jury and has decided on what's called an Allen charge. That is basically telling the jury to reconsider their positions, to go back to deliberating, to try and come up with a unanimous vote on that first count. We will, of course, keep you updated on this ongoing process going on behind me, but for now, we're live here in Lower Manhattan. Doug Williams, CBS News, New York.
All right, Doug, thank you. And a lot of questions now about how this moves forward.
Joining us to talk more about the case is Fordham law professor Cheryl Bader. Cheryl, this most recent note is our first major indicator of how the jury is thinking. What does it say to you about how they're leaning if they can't even agree on the superseding charge of second-degree manslaughter?
So, of course, deliberation is a secret process, and so we never know what exactly is in the minds of the jury, but when we get a note like this, it can be quite telling. And so there's two different things that we know. One is that there's a substantial disagreement among the jurors, enough so that they're asking the judge to intervene, and that a number of the jurors, and probably a substantial enough number that they're coming to the judge, would be in favor of conviction on the highest count. So we don't know whether that means that other jurors would be in favor of complete acquittal, or if there's been an agreement among the jury and they're just trying to decide, is it manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide?
No, that makes a lot of sense. The latest thing out of the courtroom is really shocking to me because we've known all along they have to agree on the first charge before they can potentially consider the second charge. Now the judge is saying if you can't come to a unanimous decision on the first charge, we might have to order a completely new trial. Are you shocked by that?
Right. No. So typically, if the jury can't come to an agreement, the judge would declare a mistrial. But here, the judge could ask the prosecution, "Do you want to drop the highest charge?" In other words, again, the prosecutor may be thinking from this note. Again, we're like reading tea leaves. Right, but they may think, okay, there are a lot of jurors here that want to convict, and so am I better off, rather than having to try this case again and have a mistrial, dropping that charge and letting the jury deliberate on the lesser charge of criminal negligent homicide?
So, Professor, do you see this that we're going to be planning for a longer deliberation?
So I think there'll be at least some more time because the judge is going to be instructing them that, there's lots of court resources and that they should try to reach a unanimous verdict. And so we'll have them sort of grapple with that again, and then we'll see if there's another note. But then also, I think the judge will be conferring with counsel, especially the prosecutor, to see, do they want to move on to just consider this lesser charge?
All right, Professor Cheryl Bader, thank you so much for your insight. And stay with CBS News New York for continuing coverage. Alice Gaynor is inside the courtroom. We're going to bring you the very latest as we get updates from her on streaming, on air, online at cbsnewyork.com.